This week in the security news, hacking washing machines. It's good, clean fun. Hacking cars via Bluetooth. More Bluetooth hacking with Breaktooth. Making old vulnerabilities great again by exploiting abandoned hardware. Clorox and Cognizant are pointing fingers at each other. AI-generated Linux malware attacking Russian airports. When user verification data leaks, turns out you can steal cars with a Flipper Zero, so we're told. The UEFI vulnerabilities, the hits keep coming. Hijacking Discord invites, the Raspberry Pi laptop, the new HackRF 1 Pro. Security appliances still failed to be secure. In-person re-identification via Wi-Fi. All that and more on this episode of Paul's Security Weekly.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly.
Imagine a world where every threat, ransomware, supply chain attacks, zero-day exploits is stopped before it can even begin. ThreatLocker makes that world a reality with a zero-trust approach to cybersecurity. By giving you granular control on every executable that can happen in your environment, ThreatLocker protects your business around the clock. No more guessing, no more gaps. Just rock-solid protection that keeps your operations running smoothly and your data secure. Discover how ThreatLocker's least privilege approach can safeguard your organization against known and unknown threats. Take the first step towards total peace of mind. Visit securityweekly.com/ThreatLocker today. Your company runs on Google Workspace, but it's an afterthought for most security tools. Material Security is the first and only platform purpose-built to protect Google Workspace, securing email, data, and user accounts from advanced threats. From blocking sophisticated phishing attacks in Gmail to preventing unauthorized app usage and fixing risky file sharing in G Drive, Material continuously protects your data. Don't settle for second best. Protect Google Workspace with Material Security. Learn more at securityweekly.com/Material Security. And now, the security news. What do you guys think? Want to dig into the security news for the week? I got a story that I'd like to start with, to be quite
It's your show, so go for it, Paul.
Well, my story number 9, millions of cars at risk from Flipper Zero key fob hack.
Of course we want to start with that.
Let's start with,
let's get it out of the way.
It's interesting. So I don't believe this. I just wanted to throw this out there. There's a lot of skepticism that I have about this. However, I have heard from various sources that do validate this story, but I haven't used it or tested it myself. And I feel like if until I've done that, I'm not going to say that this is really a thing. However, and also I have not seen a lot of sources that I normally get information from online run this story. So this comes from a weird website that I've never used as a source before. But in this source, they say that this new hack sidesteps protections by exploiting the rolling code algorithm to calculate valid key fob commands based on a single intercepted signal. So if someone says I can sit in a parking lot, wait for someone to lock their car, immediately I get all of their fob buttons. So it sounds like there could be a cryptographic attack that getting one of the rolling codes, you need a little bit of the data, one of those codes to then perform an operation based on that code that you intercepted to figure out what all the other codes are. I mean, that's certainly possible, my opinion. Sam, what do you think? You seem...
Well, I'm thinking it suggests that they used a linear feedback register, which is a very common old technique of making random numbers that has this flaw. You can measure one number and predict all the future ones from it, or two numbers. And that was a really common thing about 20 years ago. And I'm not too surprised that if these are old cars, I wouldn't be too surprised.
And 40 years ago.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the first generation of those key fobs used an old-fashioned technique, because these guys don't seem to, the people adding stuff to Internet of Things devices don't seem to be up with the latest trends.
Yeah.
They probably took some old code.
Sense.
Yeah.
It would make sense that there might be a generation of how the codes were generated that ended up in a lot of vehicles that had succumbed to this attack. But
I'm only guessing, of course.
All we can do on this one is really guess.
But this happens all the time. People use like the default random function and not the more secure, more modern random function.
Right.
And but if that's true, let's just go with that assumption that that's true, that this is a cryptographic attack that's well understood in different contexts, and they've just applied it to older key fobs. To me, that could mean that attackers have known about this for a while, and someone just rolled it up into Flipper firmware and is still not distributing that widely. But this has been around for a while. I'm sure there's devices you can buy on. We used to call it the black. What do you call where you buy illegal things today?
The black market.
The black
market. I would call it the black market.
Dark web.
Amazon.
Dark web.
Yeah. Well, I've been seeing articles for at least 2 years of videos of people walking right up to cars and stealing them. And they say the criminals seem to have some magic technique that we don't know about. So that would go along with this. But again, details never came out. Nothing was ever proven or verified.
Also, does it allow you to remote start or start the car? Because there's a big difference, right? Between gaining access to a vehicle and being able to start that vehicle and drive away with it. It sounds like from this article and from what I actually haven't seen it covered in any other place to my knowledge, but it strikes me they're just able to unlock the car, not do the remote start, because I would think the remote start has different protections to it. And also, just because I can clone things from a key fob doesn't mean I can necessarily start the car, because there's an immobilizer. So that you'd have to spoof the immobilizer. Now, I don't know. Maybe all these things are broken on certain model cars. And there's a lot of different cars out there, too, and makes and models. So,
and with some of the new key fobs and some of the newer cars, what you're talking like 2025 models, they're also using UWB in the key fobs as well, the ultra wideband 6 gigahertz plus, so that you may be actually be able to do direction finding, so you can tell where the key fob is. So like, is it outside the driver's door, and it will automatically unlock that door first, type of thing.
I see. Okay.
Is it in the car? Is it near the tailgate? Those types of things. My wife's car, for example, I don't know if her key fob is using UWB, but if you want to use the little foot swipe underneath the back to open the lift gate, you have to have the key fob on your person at the back of the car. My wife can't have it in the garage, over on the side of the garage. You have to be at the back of the car with the lift gate.
So there has to be some RF technology that
the direction sensing or much more active proximity sensing. So, so it's not everything.
Because it makes for good headlines.
Oh, sure.
When you say, people can steal cars.
It certainly got your attention, and you highlighted it first on the news.
Well,
because Flipper Zero, steal cars.
It was up the top. Yeah, exactly. That's a sensational headline, right? But in reality, like what's happening? I think what we've surmised is that it's probably based on older attacks that have been known for some time. Someone just put it in a Flipper, and it likely doesn't let you start the car, but allows you a thief to unlock it, which is a step in the direction of being able to start the car potentially. Although I don't know, modern cars and Kias certainly you could just do the steering column thing, which we won't tell you exactly how to do that, but it's on the internet and really bad when teenagers do that at scale in cities. But most other cars, Kia and Hyundai aside, stealing the car modern car is still pretty difficult, no? Because the immobilizer, kind of like PCI, right? The immobilizer kind of thwarted those attacks.
Evolved. Sure.
Well, it sounds so easy to do that I'm sure within a week, somebody will read this and have a Flipper Zero and the right car to test it on, and we'll see some blogs coming out with the real tests of this.
You probably will see it. But this puts us in an interesting struggle with how we protect vehicles today, given all of their electronics. A lot of makes and models of cars now are going to be susceptible to I mean, maybe not theft of the vehicle itself, perhaps, as technology evolves, both inside the vehicle and attacker techniques evolve, that could become a thing, potentially. But the more risk, I think, is thieves gaining access to the vehicle, being able to unlock it. But now one could also say, in a lot of cars, it's not hard to get in there and unlock it. Also, if you don't care about leaving a trail behind, you just smash the window. Although smashing a window today is not as easy as it sounds either. Because the glass is very doing. Get into the glass and the chemistry behind it and all that stuff. But
I bet this is going to be hard to patch. You'd have to really probably replace some serious electronics in the car.
Yeah, the car and the key fob. Yeah, I agree. That's the other thing about these attacks that makes it difficult is the remediation.
And maybe less on the car as they're becoming more and more modular, more software updatable.
Right.
But the key fob, the key fob is the hard one. Like Tesla had this problem not that long ago that they used an algorithm DST40. They could update the car to DST80, but the key fobs had to be replaced because the key fobs you could not update over the air. Jeff, sorry.
Well, it's okay. I was listening to the video interview that the I don't know, whoever the website is you found was interviewing the author of the article. And he said that. He said, the way to fix it is a hardware or firmware upgrade to all the key fobs, and that's likely not going to happen, at least anytime soon.
Well, I would think it would have to be a recall where you have to bring your fob back into the dealer to get a firmware update on it.
Yeah.
Yep. Because there's I don't know how many key fobs have an over-the-air update capability. None, or probably very, very, very few. But more than likely none.
The one thing I was curious about, I happened to, they said Dodge was one of the brands, and I have a Dodge Ram, but I have a physical key. I don't have a key fob, so I'm good. But they said something about more and more these days, modern key fobs, because my wife has a Honda something or other, and she has a key fob, but you can pull the key fob apart, and there's a key inside of it that you can use as a backup. Is that still a feature, or is even that going away in more modern key fobs?
No, I think a lot of them don't. A lot of the fobs don't have a key backup. I know that was a thing for a while. You have a new truck? Did you bring your new truck? And your new truck does have a key.
My new 2025 Toyota has a backup key.
Has a backup key in the fob.
Yep. But that won't start it. That will only let you into the vehicle.
Unlock it because you need the fob for the immobilizer for one, right?
And your car, the car is smart enough to know that the key fob is in the vehicle and won't lock it with the key fob in the vehicle. Because I accidentally almost did that the other day.
But also again,
that feature.
Yep.
A lot of the locks on cars are wafer locks that can be picked. I mean, then there's older cars, and then there's the fable of the tennis ball.
Yeah,
that doesn't
totally
really work, right? It's totally fake.
Someone had the key fob standing just off screen
and unlocked it. Yeah. Yep. So the thing was, you drill the hole in the tennis ball and put it up to the lock and pushed it.
The air pressure.
And the air pressure would. It's not real.
Nope.
But what is real is if you've ever locked your keys out of your car and called AAA to get service, have you ever watched them get into the car? Have you ever seen what they do?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't look very hard.
Nope.
At all. And I'm not giving away any secrets, because if you lock your keys out of your car, you're going to call service.
It's all on YouTube. They're going to take a wedge and they're going to put it between the door, the glass, or the door and the body.
Yep.
And then they're going to reach in with something and
a Slim Jim.
Slim Jim, and they're either going to pull up on the lock, that if you still have one of the poppy up type of things, or they're going to hit the electronic lock button.
Yeah. They just built a little bar.
Yep.
I mean, that's how I used to break into cars back in the day when I was a teenager. You could just open up the door with a screwdriver, get it open just enough to pop the lock.
Yep.
Coat hangers, metal coat hangers were great for that.
Much easier to do nowadays, Jeff, because you don't even have to pull up on the little locking mechanism and get it wrapped around there.
You just have to hit a button.
You just have to hit a button, exactly.
You remember those old, the manual locks, but they would have a bulb at the end of it, so you had to make the coat hanger curled around so you could catch it. And sometimes
I just did a similar thing with what is the brand of gun safe? Is it called gun safe? I think the brand is called something like that, and it has the 4 buttons on the top. You can get it at Harbor Freight. Has a tubular lock backup, and so, but it's battery operated. And then if your batteries die, it's got the key. And newer ones, I learned because I bought a new safe, have a little thing that you can connect to the front of it with a battery pack to charge it as a backup to charge it, which I'm like, that's pretty cool. But I had a firearm in one of those cheap gun safes that I had just sat there for years. The battery died and I lost the key. And so quick Google search. I mean, anyone can do this Google search. You search the name of the safe and like lock bypass or forgot my key. Like generally don't say like breaking into a safe because that throws up red flags. But like I'm legit the owner of the safe. It's my property inside. And there was a YouTube video. And like I didn't even have to like watch the whole thing. I kind of scrubbed through. And all you do is lift up the rubber that's kind of glued on the top of it. And he was like, oh, you take this bobby pin and you bend it into like this shape. I'm like, oh, you mean like a tensioner? And so I had a tensioner and I was just like swiping it from left to right across the little channel and it just pops the thing and the door popped right open. Like I didn't even it was not difficult at all.
Mm-hmm. Keeps honest people honest.
Exactly. And I feel like cars are kind of the same thing now. The whole point of that story was like cars are the same thing. Yeah, there's lots of ways that you could unlock a car or gain entry to a car. Now, this is really just another one. So maybe I was wrong in my notes that we have a huge problem when it comes to vehicle security. I think we have problems with vehicle security, but they're the same problems we've always had.
Yep. I will maybe add to what we should add to this headline is that the Flipper Zero could be used to unlock the car or break into vehicles and leave no evidence behind.
Correct.
Because you and I both know that I can go right down now and break into your Tesla.
100%.
Because there's a rock in the parking lot.
100%.
But you know what? You're going to know that someone broke into your Tesla because the windows shattered all over the ground in your seat. So
yeah. But also that doesn't let you drive away with my Tesla.
Right.
Right. And so I think that security becomes common sense at this point. Mm-hmm. That with all the attacks that we've known for years about, vehicle security, and now that electronics, I mean, they're basically computers. A Tesla, especially, is a computer with wheels, right? The vehicle security could succumb to more technological means that, like, don't leave anything valuable in your car. I tell my teenager this all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm like,
you mean
I know you can lock
your hygiene?
Exactly. I'm like, I know you can lock your car. I'm like, but just don't leave anything valuable in your car if you can help it.
Don't leave your wallet sitting on the dashboard.
Yeah, especially visible, because that's even more enticing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, then again, obviously, depending on what type of time they've got, if you're leaving the car unlocked, and even if you do have valuables in there and they're in the glove box, they're going to find them because if they've got time to go rifle through it, like that happens.
Well, this is an attack that used to happen in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Was it every other year, Larry?
Yep.
I remember story.
That, yeah.
And all they would do, so like I live in like a neighborhood, right, where there should be two ways in and out, and there is an emergency road. That's a story for another time. But there's basically one way in and one way out, one main way in and one way out, and 50 homes. I mean, there's a lot of people, I should say, live in a neighborhood like this, right? And so when is you're in the deepest sleep? I think it's like 3:00 in the morning. Mm-hmm. I think you could like Google this, right? Like 3:00 in the morning is the ideal time. So they'd come through, multiple people with backpacks, 3:00 in the morning, and just pull on every door handle on every car. And whenever car was unlocked, that car was searched from soup to nuts to find anything of value that could be in the car. And, I would, if there's 50 homes, you can imagine if even 20% of the people left their cars unlocked, what percentage of those had something valuable? I mean, they'd leave with full backpacks.
Yep.
Remember when you used to have a GPS that was separate?
Yep.
I lost one of my old GPSs. I think it was like at the time when your phone may have had
but not very
a map
good
surface, but not very good. And I kept it just in the car as like a backup kind of thing. And that got stolen.
Yep.
So there's that.
Because you left your car unlocked?
Yep. Because I left my car unlocked. And that was a lesson. I'm like, wow, I cannot leave my car unlocked anymore. So then it's another routine. You got to lock all your cars. It's very similar to IoT security, sort of.
Yeah.
What was the one that we had? Like, abandoned hardware.
Yep.
I guess a lot of older cars are kind of like abandoned hardware, right?
Yep.
So this was from Trail of Bits. It was an interesting post because my take on it was if you want to create more reliable exploits for IoT devices, look no further. This is a great example. And they gave 2 examples, actually. I was very focused on the Netgear one, primarily for my day job, because we added actually support for Netgear in our product. I had to write that post for work, and it's really cool what we do for that. And Netgear, by the way, is also doing a really good job on their modern hardware of securing that stuff. But this was with an older Netgear device that was, tell you how old it is, it was based on MIPS.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about it on the show before, right? It's largely transitioned away from MIPS to ARM. Yeah. RISC-V is trying to play in that space too. But for right now, it's definitely ARM is the leader. So this was a MIPS-based device. And they just did an amazing attack chain, just improving upon previous techniques. They also did was it a D-Link device, Larry? It was a D-Link.
The Bitdefender Box V1.
So the Bitdefender Box V1, was that from Bitdefender? I think it was,
Yeah.
right? Is an end-of-life product. But this is when, I think we still have this concern. But there was a time where we were very concerned about IoT device safety in the home. So much so there were many products on the market touted as, hey, like you're not a cybersecurity expert, you don't do that for a living, but you want to secure your home network and all these fancy IoT devices you have, buy this additional IoT device to monitor all of your IoT devices, right? And it would monitor the network, and there was different takes on this. Apparently Bitdefender made one. I didn't know Bitdefender actually made one. It was called the Bitdefender Box. It was end of life in 2021, and they touted it as committed to delivering innovative, effective security solutions to its customers, platform to evolve our products and technologies, and basically monitor the IoT stuff in your home.
It's a consumer cybersecurity hub to protect the Internet of Things in homes.
Yep. So
after this date, the device retained its router functionalities, but no longer receives updates, including
because I think like most companies, they realize that one, there's not much of a market for this, which is probably the driving factor. And 2, how effective can you be with modern attacker techniques and actually prevent attacks with a box that you drop? If there was a magic box we could drop on everyone's network to make it secure, we'd be doing that. I'm almost waiting for Jeff to weigh in on this one. Well, there's historically been so many, buy this magic box, deploy it on your network, and you'll be secure. And I don't think they put air quotes around it. It was like, you'll be secure. Just buy this thing and put it on your network. There's still a lot of vendors it's essentially that, right?
Yeah, so it's a consumer version of the Holy Grail, which industry and organizations have been chasing forever.
Right. Turns out, though, but what's interesting is this IoT device that was intended to protect other IoT devices also has vulnerabilities that were exploited by Trail of Bits.
I see. You also have the machine that goes big.
That's never happened before either.
No.
Right. But I feel like we said this a long time ago, that as we add security products to our IT infrastructure, if you will, that it increases our attack surface.
Absolutely.
But I think somehow we've lost sight of advising people not to add all of this attack surface or do it in a smart way. Like, we haven't been harping on that point. And then we look at the landscape of security appliances, VPN appliances, and they're getting hacked like it's the 90s. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So ballpark figure, Paul, how many smart devices do you have in your home that are internet connected? Go.
So bear with me for one moment. I'll make it quick. I use Run Zero, and Run Zero is 100 devices for the free version.
Yep.
Thank you, HD. Amazing. And I think I cover both the studio and my home network. And so I'm about 65 devices.
Wow.
So
is that a lot? I don't know. So HD tells me some people in their home have over the 100 devices, and they they write. Maybe they're lying. I don't know. But
I should.
why you would lie
download-
to HD Moore, by the way, who's the nicest person in the world. Like,
So
don't do that.
to give you an idea, Paul. Yeah. Now, granted, I've got a lot of computers in my home.
Yeah, me too.
Sure.
Because I'm counting the computers.
But
we use on the show.
my DHCP pool at home has 150 addresses in it, and I just had to increase it because I ran out of addresses in my pool.
So let me
Oh, really?
revise the question. How many IoT devices, smart
Oh.
devices, do you have in your home roughly?
It's
Internet
probably
Yeah,
connected.
probably like would it take whatever the
Half of that?
total is? Probably at least like half of that, maybe more. Actually,
Yeah.
You probably have more IoT. I mean, you have more IoT devices than you do computers, right?
I
So you've got a
think it
computer.
also depends, Jeff, on how you classify IoT.
Fair.
If you're talking cameras, light bulbs, door locks, the thermostats, those smart TVs, yeah, I've probably
Smart TV
I've
devices.
probably got
the things
I've
that
probably got
people are
75
buying
devices.
and using the technology. I mean, every day we reset the thermostat on the main floor, and I look at it every day, and I'm like, this could be internet connected, and I could be doing this from my phone, or I could be programming it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm not going to internet connect this damn thing.
Or
Just
more importantly, the Nest could be saying, "Hey, it's really hot in your area, and everybody's trying to use demand. We're going to turn your thermostat up, like 6 degrees, so that you're being more energy efficient." Hell no, turn that shit back down.
I
Yeah.
guess I'm literally sitting on my porch, and there's nobody on my lawn right now. But once we get past the the cool gee whiz, I can do this with all from my phone. I think it's important to weigh the increased attack
surface. Yeah.
surface versus the benefits you have of was it really hard to like just walk over to the thermostat and push a few buttons back in
Yes.
the day?
Yeah.
Well, it's that for that use case, Jeff. I
Mhm.
completely agree. If you're in the home, there's your use case is if I'm upstairs, down. I'm not in the same room as my thermostat, or I just don't want to get up and use my smartphone.
Right.
That's a ridiculous use case. However, if you're not home and you want to adjust the temperature, that's a great use case.
Or
for it.
not in the studio.
So that's right. In the studio, I had a smart thermostat, but we had
Mhm.
issues with the HVAC, as we always do. It's a running joke. If you follow my social media, I make those comments all the time. If you're not in the studio and I want to adjust the temperature beforehand, I need to put another smart thermostat, which, by the way, I have in shrink wrap. I just haven't installed.
I think another giant leap forward in increasing the attack surface is that everything has AI in it now. And
Oh, God.
you'd probably like to be able to turn that off, but I'm sure you won't be able to. Nobody ever says, here's how to turn off all our new exciting features.
So
Nobody buys
it's-
something to not use the features,
But it's interesting you say that. Let's be careful what I say, because I can't talk about the details yet. But in terms of AI on IoT devices, first thing, IoT devices have become a lot more powerful and capable in terms of compute. Right, Moore's law.
Mhm.
The camera that is here in studio is an
Not
OBS
HD
bot.
Moore, that other Moore. But go
The
ahead.
other more. Tail Air from OBS bot has the gesture things that I've turned off. So like I can wave my hands all I want and it's not going to do, all kinds of zooming and all kinds of stuff like that. But the way it does that, Sam, is with some AI code that's on the camera. And again, I can't elaborate anymore, but these devices, my point is, are more capable, are doing things, to your point, Sam, like AI.
Yeah.
And if you were to look, just saying, if you were to look, you might find that a lot of these devices are very capable Linux-based ARM CPU computers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
with
and if not
with
AI,
a specific AI processor in it for doing those exact things.
Right.
if not AI directly, how many of the things that we use are capturing as much data as they can to feed the LLMs that are going into the AI,
Sure.
whether we're using it directly or not?
But it's it's a great point when you say that, Jeff. My brain goes to these devices will continue to be more compute capable, so they can run AI code, so that the watch on my wrist is monitoring my body temperature, and it's going, oh, you're getting a little warm. Let me adjust your thermostat, for you. Or based on your behaviors, Paul, I'm going to adjust the thermostat automatically, and I'm going to use AI processing in order to do that.
We can see you're sweaty and you're at the gym, so we're going to turn the ice meter on
Right.
to run an extra thing of ice, so you have some nice cold ice water when you get home.
Again, convenience at odds with security, but the end results from what we're talking about is these what we've deemed as innocuous devices are now full-fledged like Linux computers that you've got spread around everywhere.
And they're typically connecting to a cloud service, which they need, which they will just turn off at some point and break your device. So,
which is what I love about the term IoT that I think we sometimes lose sight of, right? To me, that means there's a device, it has firmware, it has network connectivity, it talks to a cloud service that also allows me to interact with an app. So now you've got a computer, basically an embedded device that runs Linux mostly, that then talks to a cloud service. So there's someone else that develops some kind of app, back-end app. And then there's also a smartphone interface that lets you interface on your phone. And how many times have we covered articles here in the show and read security research that's attacking any one of those given points for all kinds of different, we've seen all types of different attacks.
And to toot my own horn, that's why I started the development on IOTA, which was the Internet of Things attack methodology.
Right.
And which is part of that, recognizes that all of those components are the Internet of Things, including all of the wireless technologies and all of the spots where that data gets stored and how that data is analyzed and traded.
And it's more attack surface.
Yep.
That now we put into the homes, but also trickles into the enterprise. If you look at my stories, there's also a great segue into iStar Ultra door access vulnerabilities from Johnson Controls. This looks to be an independent researcher that published details on this and all kinds of vulnerabilities in the firmware of these door access devices. I didn't do the extra research to figure out where they were used, how they were used. I'm assuming if it comes from Johnson Controls, it probably has some kind of industrial usage for it, obviously. But one of the things, and this is a great segue, now we have all these devices. They're more compute capable than ever before. They've got tons of features. The tail air camera I have has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth running Linux, right? Like, it's a full-fledged Linux computer that if you were to weaponize that, you would have great functionality. And one of the ways that allows attackers to weaponize these devices, and where I think we now live in a world where this is more important than ever before, is just one of the fundamental security controls you can put on a device, and that's firmware signature validation. How do I validate that the software that's running on this device is the software that was intended and hasn't been backdoored? I go back to Sam's point. Sam, there was one time on the show where you made this awesome point. You were like, look, if you make one of these devices that runs firmware and you know everything that should be in the firmware, why can't you create a trusted computing device that says you're only allowed to run this stuff? Right? Yeah. It's technically possible.
You're just like the iPhone. The iPhone works that way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and before we go too far away, the increased attack surface, it's not only the technology, it is also all this data. I keep thinking about this. I was thinking about this earlier today. In the old days, a scant 20 years ago or less, sensitive data was name, address, phone number, credit cards. If you're an organization, Social Security, bank account numbers.
We used to be able to get name, address, and phone number from a book that they would deliver to your house.
But nowadays, think of all the data that we don't even these devices are capturing everything. Yep. And somebody somewhere needs to start, I don't know if maybe somebody's already done it, categorizing these new types of data sets and trying to figure out, right now we're giving it all away, whether we know it or not. And sometimes we can opt out, but usually it's a default opt-in. But I don't know. I don't think the general public knows or cares about all the different types of data that's being captured about them that really is sensitive, and it's PII by a modern definition, that is part of the increased attack surface. And, at an organizational level, I'm not sure that we have a better understanding of it.
Well, it's interesting. All of these devices, applications, and the data they collect about you is certainly a concern. I mean, let's go back to the camera. What if the camera's logging stuff? Like all the things that we just went through in terms of I'm at the gym, I'm on the thermostat, but all of that is data about you, your habits that can be monetized, but also could be stolen by threat actors as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a world where there's more data collected about us than ever before.
Right. Well, that's my point. And we don't even think about it. I mean, I keep chuckling because I broke down a couple weeks ago and decided to start playing some of the games that are available on a phone. I got bored with the games that I've been playing. And so I'm getting all sorts of ads because I'm playing the freeware versions. And for some reason, and it's probably because I'm always generally in the same room with my wife, we watch a TV show and we're both playing games, but my phone thinks I'm a middle-aged or elderly woman. So I get all sorts of ads for chair yoga and bras that will, pick up your saggy boobs and stuff like that. And it just cracks me up that my phone thinks I'm a woman. Over this past weekend, we went and visited.
Why is that, Jeff?
Do you need a bra for your saggy boobs?
I don't think
Jeff?
so. And
how about chair yoga?
But were you shopping? Also, you could be shopping for your significant other, and it got confused and said, "I'm not." It got confused who you are versus who you're shopping for.
But we visited one of our daughters last weekend, and we were sitting around just chatting, and I picked up my phone and was playing a game because I have an attention
bored of
span
conversation with the family.
Family. How long can you talk to your family? And I started, and in this household, like my son-in-law, he started growing his own marijuana plants. We were talking about that, I think, last week. Whether I should start growing marijuana in my, pot, in my garden. But I started getting ads for edibles, and I'm like, that's hilarious because the phone knows I'm in a different environment, and it's already picked up on something and started feeding me different ads. We left, came home. Haven't gotten any more of those ads. I'm back to getting the chair yoga ads. It is weird, but I'm like, okay, as long as my phone keeps thinking I'm a woman, I'm okay with it collecting data because it's doing something wrong, and I don't want to do anything to correct it.
I keep getting ads about those men's shapewear things for guts. Wait, Jeff, you should be. Never mind.
We need to hang out, Larry. Next week, if we see each other in Vegas, I need to pull out my phone and play a game in front of you. And
we'll get some of those male shapewear ads up for you at the same time.
Dude, I bought some of those THC drinks from the liquor store, and then I started talking about it, and I swear I heard what I was talking about, which I hate, and I think that's something we probably need to focus on as cybersecurity professionals. But anyway, then the algorithm kicks in. Then it shows me an advertisement for one of the brands that I like, and I can actually order it online and have it shipped to my house. We could probably do a whole segment on how the legalities of that and the chemistry behind how they're doing that. But then I ordered a case of it, and now all I see in my advertisements is for THC based drinks.
But how much of our conversations, in the workplace or during work hours are taking place in proximity of our phones and smart devices? And there is, company sensitive type of data being discussed.
Sure.
We're using all the secure apps, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Signal and SharePoint and things like that. But
wait, did you just lump Signal and SharePoint as secure applications, Jeff?
I said nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Oh, okay. That was a tongue-in-cheek comment.
It was a tongue-in-cheek comment. But, I mean, it's not data in transit anymore, which is what those things advertise, or data in storage. It's, it's data in the air. It's listening. And we don't categorize that, and we don't capture it enough. But it's data that's being collected. We know it's being collected.
Yep. And
we've theorized about this in IoT devices for a long time.
And a little bit on the, my phone is listening to me. It doesn't need to be listening to you. It just needs to know where you are in proximity to other people.
Sure.
Specifically, I can remember a couple of years ago that being at karate and sitting on the bench with some of the other parents, and all of a sudden I'm getting, Facebook says you might know these people because I was literally just talking to that person.
Right.
And
You're in a location.
But we are in a location. The phone knows where I am. The phone knows that we are there for some sort of activity in common, and that we're both there at that location. And it wasn't that we had talked about anything. It was that we had in fact been in the same location, the same proximity. So
and it knows you're going to use your washing machine likely when you come home from martial arts class. Yep. Therefore, you want to hack your washing machine.
Yep.
So you had that article. Did you read that article?
I did. And this is like, this has Jeff and some of the stuff all over it. Like, why do we need to connect this shit?
We need a smart washing machine. I get alerts on my phone now because I bought a new washing machine from LG.
But why do you fucking automatically connect it to the internet? Why?
Because I wanted to see what would happen. Basically,
because you wanted to know when your wife is done with the laundry.
I wanted to see what would happen. I'm like, because I had the same question. I'm like, I'm really only going to be able to answer this question of why does this thing need Wi-Fi and have an app? So like, let me install it and see why.
Yeah.
And so I did. And I was like, great. It sends me alerts like when it starts a wash and finishes a wash and lets me upgrade firmware on it. I'm like,
why do you need to upgrade firmware on your washing machine?
Because it runs firmware, because it has Wi-Fi and talks to an app. It's the IoT, right? It's firmware, it's cloud, and I have an app.
Are you getting new features, or is it just security updates?
It's really funny. There are features where you can update the ringtone for what sound plays when a wash finishes. And my wife was like, I really hate that. I'm like, well, this was worth my endeavor into installing this app if I can create something like as if I need to annoy my wife any more than I already do.
Just put it like the kids yelling upstairs as
you can't. I haven't figured out how to get custom files on there, but they had like a bank of them. And I'm like,
I want to make one more statement. Well, go ahead, Sam. I'll let you go
just
first.
I'll just say, if you hack the firmware like the Flipper Zero, you could turn it into a nuclear isotope separator, and that would be an awesome home project.
I've seen that.
We did. Hold on. I just want to segue for a moment because we didn't talk about this last week, and I meant to. Because Sam, last week you put in the Slack chat. Yeah. What was it called? Dr. Stupid.
Yeah, Science Made Stupid. How to build a nuclear reactor at home.
And it was you get a plastic trash can, and then you put uranium rods. In the trash can in water, and then it had like a pump system that would go to like a hot tub. And when I read that, it was a complete joke, right? And hilarious at that.
Was it? Was it?
Well, complete. You could read the infographic thing that Sam sent Jeff and say that it's a joke, right? So I'm like, but like me being the curious hacker, I'm like, I have questions. I'm like, because like. Science-wise, that kind of tracks, all right? Yep. Like, you have to get a hold of these materials, first of all. But I'm like, science-wise, this...
trash can, water, hot tub, piping, right, no problem.
Like, just, like, I don't pretend
the only
to
missing
how
ingredients, the uranium isotopes.
But, like, I don't pretend to know how a
some
nuclear...
people might actually want radiation shielding, too, if you're going to get fancy, but anyway...
But this was like to make hot water for your hot tub. But so also like I don't know how a nuclear reactor. But I've watched the Chernobyl show and like done some basic like research. So I have like little snippets of things. I don't pretend, but I know it involves like uranium, like radioactive materials with water that helps cool it. But the steam from that, right, is what helps generate energy. Also, you've got graphite rods which help reduce the temperature. Is that the purpose of the graphite?
No, go ahead.
Is it to reduce temperature?
They dampen the nuclear reaction, so it doesn't
dampen
run
the
away.
Nuclear reaction. Okay,
they prevent a meltdown.
Right. So I'm like, all right. Knowing all of that, I'm like, hold on. How hot does that water get? And I'm like, I don't know the answer to that. I'm like, let me go to an LLM and ask it. And dude, the LLMs freaked out. They were like, why are you asking this? I cannot answer questions. I'm like, but I had to like talk to it almost like as a person. I'm like, look, I saw this cartoon from Dr. Stupid, and I'm like, and it was a complete joke, and I'm just genuinely curious. Like, if you were to do this, like, how hot will the water get? I still don't think it answered my question, but it was like, thank you for telling me it was
really hot.
And it was still like. Safety wise, you should never do this. Like this is, I'm like, I understand that it's just a joke. I'm just like, I want a number. Like,
It's-
I don't
it's
care,
hotter than
Fahrenheit,
boiling.
Kelvin, Celsius, whatever your
Way hotter
measurement
than
is.
boiling, because it's a
That-
closed system.
That was
and
my
it's
point.
under
Because the
pressure.
graphic that Sam sent was people sitting in a hot tub. I'm like, you would literally melt in the hot tub. Is my assessment of that.
Yeah,
Right?
You
not
can-
to, not,
No, you
Go ahead.
can adjust it. You can adjust the rate of the reaction. You can tune it
Yeah.
to different heats.
all depends.
Well, does that,
all
you need
depends on-
you need graphite
Yeah.
rods to slow
All-
the nuclear reaction.
all depends on how far or removed the graphite rods
Right.
are.
Also,
And I-
but also, there would be a lot of radiation that would leak
Yes.
from that
Yes.
system.
That's
a big problem.
It would
right?
be bad. Also,
Details.
it said pretty much all the LLMs I asked were the summarization I got was you would recreate Chernobyl if you tried to do that on your own.
I love
That's
the
bad.
last paragraph of this thing. You can use the hot water you produce to run a toy turbine, heat your doghouse, or fill a hot tub. Any overflow can irrigate your garden, where it will often produce beautiful and unusual foliage.
Oh yeah, because the radiation—that's what plants crave.
Yeah.
Food of the gods.
Always dispose of spent fuel rods properly.
So I don't know.
How do you
I don't know-
dispose of a spent fuel rod
Properly.
Properly,
Yep.
right? You bury it in about 1,000 or
The
100,000
No,
feet
you
of
just have
sand.
to use one of those Glad trash bags that have the ties on it. That'll
The
work.
ties on it. That'll
Yeah,
Seal
the ones
it up
that
really
stretch so they don't rip.
right. Or you
I-
encase it.
I was
in a
gonna
ton of
say
lead.
before you kind of segued off.
I did. I segued into nuclear
Um,
reactors at home. I don't know why.
you know, in the defense of all the companies out there that are putting out these smart devices to make our lives easier, I don't think that they have nefarious motives.
No,
I
agree, Jeff.
I was visiting the same daughter 2 weeks ago, and a few days before that, I'd been on a video chat, and my granddaughter was eating ice cream. I said, "Ooh, you're eating ice cream," and my daughter mentioned, "Oh yeah, the Mr. Softy truck came by." Now, Mr. Softy is a truck that I used to when I was a kid and went to the beach. Mr. Softy ice cream truck would come by, and at some point they stopped going to the beach. And for years, I'd never seen him again. And then I found out that it's like a franchise, and I think they started in New Jersey. I remember I was at a client like 15 years ago in New York City, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have Mr. Softy." Anyway, I went up and visited them for the purpose of having ice cream with my granddaughter, and my daughter said, "Oh yeah, the Mr. Softy comes by every night at 7:00." So it was like 7:15, 7:20. No Mr. Softy truck. I'm like, I bet you there's a tracking app. You can probably go online and it'll tell you where the Mr. Softy truck is. So she went and looked for one, found it, and says, "Oh yeah, it's like 2 neighborhoods over." 5 minutes later, the truck's pulling up on our street. And I'm like, I bet you the tracking app also is recording people saying, "Where's the Mr. Softy truck?" And they're like, "Oh, there's somebody who wants Mr. Softy. Let's go there." So, which is good because we got our ice cream, and I had my ice cream cone and relived childhood memories and shared it with my granddaughter and so forth. So,
And Jeff, do you know why Mr. Softy doesn't go to the beach anymore?
it melts.
No, he found out there's a pill for that.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, Mr. Softy is like the worst porn star name ever.
But it's the name of this ice cream truck that's been around for like 75 years.
Apologize. We should put a warning on that segment. As soon as Jeff said Mr. Softy,
Like, yep. Oh,
just
here it
fast
goes.
forward at least 3 minutes because we're not going to be able to compose ourselves.
Well, you can go to YouTube and you can find the jingle that every truck plays, and it's embedded in my memory. I won't whistle it for you right now.
Oh,
But my point is, all this data is being captured mostly to sell things and get coupons and all. We used to call this big data back in the beginning of all this. But there's all this data now that really we should think about what's being captured, where is it going? I forget. I think somebody had the story about the T application.
Let's talk about that.
I mean,
Yes.
that's the type of
Yes.
thing we're talking about. We're tracking all sorts of interesting information that's supposed to go away, and yet it's not going away. Who had that story?
Whenever we talk to security teams, one thing is clear. They are under more pressure than ever, facing increasingly complex and higher stakes threats. That's where Flashpoint comes in. Flashpoint empowers organizations to make mission-critical decisions to keep their people and assets safe. Flashpoint combines cutting-edge technology with expert intelligence teams, empowering security leaders with the critical data and alerts and analysis needed to act before threats escalate. And with Ignite, Flashpoint's award-winning threat intelligence platform, you get access to real-time insights, finished intelligence, and analytics all in one place. Learn more at securityweekly.com/flashpoint. You can't protect what you can't see. Everyone knows that, right? That's why Run Zero gives you total visibility across your internal and external attack surfaces. Worried about unknown and unmanageable devices? They got those covered too. Run Zero also helps you illuminate all types of exposures, even the elusive ones. They go beyond CVEs to tackle the hard stuff, even 0 days. No agents, no authentication, just crazy deep data about your assets and exposures that focus on the risks that actually matter, not an endless sea of CVEs. Try it free. Visit securityweekly.com/Run Zero to get started. But it's amazing to me that the mechanism or process for validating a person, right, is the data that was ultimately stolen, right? Like that, because there's such a contention with, we want to validate that, and we see this all the time with online porn and many other things. We have to validate that we're an adult of a certain age. But that process involves disclosing information about ourselves, which is then stored, which is then sometimes leaked out to the public.
That's right. And that's not happening in the UK. But the T-app was for women.
And so we talked about this, Sam, right? The UK passed a law that you can't do that. You can't store the data.
Well, anyway, and the by the way, kids found the workaround. You just install a certain video game, and then you can upload one of the images in the video game, and it accepts that as proof that you're an adult. So, as everyone predicted, kids immediately found out how to get around that age verification system. But the T-app did something. At first, it had to verify that you're a woman, which is pretty problematic in itself. Anyway,
I mean, apparently they just need to borrow Jeff's phone for a little bit.
That's right.
Apparently so.
I should download the T-app because my phone already knows I'm a woman.
It would be like, you're totally fine, Jeff. You can create an account all day long. You're good.
Here's all the ads that I get about, saggy boob bras.
But the T-app, for people that don't know, because I didn't know until I read the story, was exclusively for women.
Yep. Where they could go spill a little tea.
Where they could basically crowdsource information about males that would be in dating apps, right?
Right. Yep.
I'm not sure exactly how this works. Like, also, there's a component of this that you have to validate the identity of the male in order to accurately leave a review of I went on this date and the person was gross and disgusting. But how do you know who that was? I'm not sure how they did that. But But in order to get into this T app, you had to produce information that proved, one, you're a woman, and two, you are who you say you are, or at least a driver's license.
I think you probably have to prove you're an adult, but you have to upload the driver's license and also take like a selfie. And this goes on a server. But now that you mention it, one thing male predators do is lie about their name. So that calls into question the accuracy of the data. But that, even aside from getting there, once people want to have all this verification data, what do they do with it? And the answer is, of course, dump it in an unprotected Amazon S3 bucket so everybody can steal it, which is what they did. And
what else do you do with your user data?
Yeah,
but dump it in an unsecured S3 bucket.
They also provided private messages, and they were dumping those in another bucket that people got into. So, now there's a class action lawsuit, as you'd expect. This is like Ashley Madison,
Was this the one that was like 53 terabytes or something? There was like a ton of data.
And you get your driver's license and your identity, which is just the kind of stuff that you're worried about. If you have men stalking you and stuff, this is... accomplishing the exact opposite of the goal of the app.
Like a picture of your driver's license is, in terms of PII, is really bad.
Yeah, which to finish the thought on, we need to do something about this data. It needs to be regulated, and there needs to be rules established. And of course, everybody hates regulation, but how else do you put your arms around any of this? And
there ought to be something like a PCI
but I just want to point out,
Yeah.
Jeff is the PCI expert, is pointing it out. But Jeff, I like where your brain is going with this in terms of PII. What if we treated that the same way as we did credit card data.
Right.
And look what we did to protect credit card data. If
Right.
we said with PII, like, don't store it. That was the thing that helped protect credit card information, was not storing it. So if you need to do age verification, like, don't store the data. But wasn't there something about they had to store the data to be compliant with some other regulation? I thought I
Know
read
your
that.
know your customer or something if it's financial, and that's what made the UK system
right.
weak. All the teenagers in the world could use the same picture since they're not storing the data.
Mm-hmm.
So you fix one problem, you create another problem.
You create another. Yeah. That's a shame.
Which is why we have jobs. But
Yep. Something like that.
Where do you want to go next? Who's you guys have something you really want to
you
talk
mentioned
about?
lawsuits. We could talk about Clorox. for a
Yeah,
little bit.
Yeah, dude. I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting, Jeff. That
And for some reason, I love the way that the highlighting and the font size is set up for the story. So it's
I don't know
perfect.
how that happened.
yeah, it's the
But it's
markup
perfect.
language,
But it's
internal
perfect.
system. Yeah,
It's perfect.
but Clorox and Cognizant are basically in this like finger pointing thing.
Yep.
I'm not sure what Cognizant was providing to Clorox. I'm assuming is Clorox the same like Clorox bleach? Is that the same?
This is Clorox bleach,
Clorox,
and they
yeah.
outsourced their call center operations to Cognizant.
Okay.
And apparently, and this happened a couple years ago. This is not a new breach, but the lawsuit's new. Some attackers were social engineering. They called the help desk and asked for a password, and the call center support person just gave it to them, apparently without any authentication or any validation. They just gave it up, and that's what launched everything. So Clorox has now filed a lawsuit saying, hey, you were negligent and you did something stupid. But Cognizant is coming back and saying, well, your whole security posture is stupid. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
and we just provided help desk function. Your security posture is stupid. Wait, no.
which is why I tried to put in hashtag, pass the popcorn.
Yeah, hashtag finger pointing. It's like that Spider-Man meme where there's more than one Spider-Man and everybody's pointing at each other. Yeah,
Not my problem. Not my fault.
yeah.
So it'll be interesting to follow these things. Sometimes take years, but
my prediction, Cognizant is not being very cognizant about how stupid they were, and Clorox is going to win.
I don't
could
disagree with that.
Yep.
But I mean, the lawsuits for millions.
Yeah.
It says in the article. I don't remember what it is, and I don't have it in front of me. It'll just be fun to follow. We may not hear anything for a year, but it'll be fun to follow this lawsuit. But to me, the underlying theme is even in the PCI world, there's such a push to just outsource stuff to a third party. Let's push it to a third party. ISACA, apparently, because I spoke at an ISACA conference earlier in the year, and they kept talking about risk transfer. I'm like, what the hell is risk transfer? I've never heard that term. And at some point I realized, it's got to be an ISACA term, and it's basically their terminology for outsourcing to third parties and putting everything over on them. And I've been saying to my clients for years, just because you're outsourcing the operations and the functionality doesn't mean you're outsourcing the liability. It doesn't take you off the hook for making sure that stuff is happening. And there are processes in place with PCI to validate, in theory, that if you think that you're passing on the responsibility to a third party, they have to actually acknowledge it and say that they're doing it, and you have to know it and they have to know it, and it's all agreed on. But that's been a problem for years that I've seen in PCI, that they push things out to a third party and they think, okay, the third party's doing it. Kind of like the early days of putting things in the cloud. I'm not singling out AWS other than it was my first experience, but AWS back when I was at Tenable with you, so 10, 12 years ago now, people were starting to put infrastructure in the cloud. It was a no-brainer to put their e-commerce sites up in the cloud, which is a fancy way of saying a hosting provider. And the presumption, and AWS was advertising that they were PCI compliant, but if you read the small print, which I could because Tenable was an AWS customer, and so we got to see all the detailed contractual language service level agreement. They were only saying that they were basically protecting the physical security of the data center,
Right.
rack, the racks and power. That was all guaranteed. Nothing at all. Anything else of the PCI requirements. So, people are throwing things into the cloud. AWS is PCI compliant, so we're good, right? I'm like, holy crap! No, you're not good.
No,
They've
had
come
a
a long
story-
way, by the way.
I didn't write it up. One of my stories was about that. Make sure you check the show notes because I had something really cool on that I didn't really want to get into on the show. But
But you've
Anyway.
brought it up now.
yeah, and now I can't find it. But there was a anyway.
I want to hear
Let me read
about Sam's Kotsky stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, the Linux malware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is interesting. So there's a Linux branch, a Linux crypto miner named Koski. And the thing about it is it's surprisingly complex. It has layer upon layer of tricks for persistence and concealment. And it has many ways to contact the command and control infrastructure. And so they looked at the code. I'm not sure how they saw it, but they discovered that the code is in fact well documented and well organized. And they said this code was written by AI. And this is something we've been hearing for a long time, that AI coming. And I read up how Anthropic teams, that's my third article, uses Claude Code. And they say this is the modern finding of people using code is that the difference between technical and non-technical people is vanishing. A non-technical person can now write code using an AI. So they can just specify what they want and let an AI do it. And I'm hearing coders say this, I no longer have to worry about the details. Like I mostly write JavaScript, but now I need PHP. And instead of remembering where to put the semicolons, I just use AI to write it. And it gets all the little details right.
But I think there's still a big difference between someone who knows how to code and someone who doesn't, and giving both of them AI. You're going to get very different results. You're going to get so much better results with someone who knows how to program, even if with like language aside. Let's say you've learned one language and you've even gotten semi-proficient. I mean, you're not the world. I'll use myself as an example. I'm not the world's greatest coder. There are certain languages that I feel proficient in, and I can write some code. If I were to go to AI and ask it to solve a problem, and then I were to write that code, you get two very different code bases. Also, my usage of AI is very different. I could ask AI to go write something in Go that does X, Y, Z. I could help troubleshoot and debug that because I've been coding for a long time.
But I submit to you that writing malware is the perfect job for AI because you really don't need it to be very good code.
No, I don't know. I would fight you on that a bit, Sam. I think it does need to be good code. I think malware has a high probability of getting caught by EDR systems and anti-malware, antivirus, right? And there's a level of sophistication that has to be built in to do that. It has to create covert channels. It has to communicate over the network. It has to move data around. Like there's a lot that goes into malware.
Yeah, well, I think the point here is if I was writing it, I would do it one way and then I would be tired. And if somebody had a list of 10 other ways to do it, I'd say, I can't be bothered to write all that. But if I'm using AI, I can say, write the code to try all these 10 methods. And I think that's what they found here.
Right. I think it does help up-level, lower-skilled coders. For sure.
This is what Bruce Schneier said. He said AI is not going to replace a human. What it will do is it will do the tedious, repetitive part that you don't want to do.
Oh,
and so
I 100% agree with that.
If I say, now I've written it in to do one technique, add these 10 other techniques in the same spirit, that's a job for AI.
100%. Also, there's things that you know how to do as a coder that are just tedious, which is most programming tasks. And so when I prompted, I'm like, make me these 3 or 4 command line arguments that I can give to it. Like, make this program. But I'm like, make these things like all command line arguments. And I know how to do that, but I'm like, it's tedious. The routines you have to write to take and put the documentation in for like what each command line thing does is very tedious. Most of the times we don't go through that exercise in like laborious detail. But if we can prompt an AI, it's a great job for AI because it can look at thousands, millions of lines of code of people who have implemented command line arguments take all that in and go, oh yeah, like I know how to do that for you, Paul. And I'm like, that even if it's not perfect, I'm like, oh, it's close enough. I just make a few modifications.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to write the friggin', 50 long case statement of my command line options myself. Because that's, again, syntax wise, like also very tedious.
Mm-hmm.
But you're
that's
also
right.
kind of implying that AI perhaps can do the documenting and commenting,
Yeah.
which is often missing and
Also tedious.
And everybody hates to do it. Maybe that is a benefit of AI if you
100%.
get better documented code.
I think so. I think you could upload the requirements and get it to, do all the tedious parts. And this gets to the question that is really at the heart of people I consult for is, can you really fire half the staff and replace them with AI? And
No.
well, I don't think so. But the question is exactly how much additional productivity does a coder get from using AI? And all the serious studies I've shown so far say it's minimal. But I wonder, one other possibility is that you'll still have the same amount of staff, but the work will be higher quality, which is what I expected. People become more productive, but then your standards will rise and you'll still need the same amount of staff to compete.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
And I hope AI can help improve the quality of code, especially security wise. But it has to be trained on secure code, not insecure code.
That's right.
That's the problem.
And when and how is that going to happen?
Well, that's why I like
well,
DeepSeek R1. DeepSeek R1 was trained at about 1,000 times less cost than GPT-4 because they just trained it on a small data set of high-quality data. They trained it on like 1,000 questions and answers, the way you would train a human with like a beginning book that doesn't confuse you with all the code on the internet. It gives you good examples, a small number of them, to learn proper coding.
Yep. They gave it a manual of proper coding as opposed to pointing it to Stack Overflow.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the way you teach a human. You give them like an elementary
That would mean
English
we
book.
have really good and secure code to train it on, which I'm
That's
sure we
right.
do, but finding it is invalidating is the process.
Well, no, you could pay professionals to write it and edit it, just like you pay professionals to write textbooks.
Sure.
That's not unachievable.
Yeah, my recent experience with using AI to do those repetitive tasks was very interesting. I've had to create a bunch of repetitive documents, but all with a little bit different focus. So like the questions are the same, but they needed to be tailored, say, for different capabilities of each individual type of device. And I went and wrote up some stuff like, okay, so here was the question, and here was my response. But here's a document about all of the rules that need to apply about what we're supposed to be filling in this document. And, went in and here's what I replied. And they said, oh, well, we can make this way better. And just give you a little bit more info about some of these things. And it did a really good job, to the point that I even got to about the fifth one of these that I had to do. And I accidentally hit enter on a previous prompt. Like, okay, we're on device number 5, and I've answered question 1, 2, and 3, but I copied and pasted the prompt from like the first one that we had done and put it in and was going into edit like, okay, no, this has these 2 interfaces instead of that type. And and accidentally hit enter too early. And it said, oh, I noticed that you asked me the same question as you did on the first one, and clearly that's not right because we're now talking about this different device. Based on what you've already told me about this device, I'm going to change the prompt to reflect what you actually meant. I'm like, thanks, Claude.
Yeah, Claude has been
Thanks, Claude.
impressing me lately.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Claude. Thanks, Claude, for oops. Like, damn it, I'm going to have to reprompt it. Nope, it recognized that, that was one you've already given me for this other device. But you've already told me a bunch about the device, and we'll base it on what you really meant, not what you asked me for.
On a much smaller scale, what I've noticed is when people ask me something and I type it in really fast, very badly with typos, I don't have to fix them anymore. The AI will understand it fine. Written badly.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yep. Even better, like for some of those examples with Claude, one of the things that they said they fixed was the grammar and the spelling mistakes. Thanks.
Yeah.
I had a couple of interesting hardware things that are of interest, most likely to our listeners. One is the My story number 13 is titled "The Dream of a Raspberry Pi Laptop Becomes a Reality." And this is exciting for me because, like, first of all, Raspberry Pis are very useful tools for us hackers and have been since the first release of them, right? Fairly recently, was it Electro? Electro came out with that
Electro.
Electro. Is that
Whatever
how you say it?
That's how I say it, because
In my head, I say
Electro.
things differently than when I first verbalize them until someone corrects me. That's pretty much how the best.
Electro,
and for
Electro.
a certain amount of time after that. But whatever.
Electro sounds way more elegant than I was saying it in my head. Electro makes the Crow View Note.
Yes, and this is why I say Electro, because it's the Crow View.
Crow View. Yeah,
there's a Crow theme.
There. But this is the one where you kind of smash a Raspberry Pi onto the side of a laptop.
Yep.
And the laptop doesn't have any.
It has a
CPU. It's a battery, screen, keyboard, and mouse.
Yep.
And you're just smashing a Raspberry Pi on the side. I make that sound
with a little adapter. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I make that sound like very rudimentary. It's very eloquent and an awesome platform. Larry and I both have one, and I love it.
And I use it all the time.
Because I use it all the time because I can take a screen, keyboard, and mouse and power to any device. Doesn't matter, and you can plug it in.
And it doesn't have to be a Raspberry Pi, because it's using HDMI and USB-C, and
it's not. It wasn't that expensive. How much did we pay?
Like $300. I don't even think it was that much
to have it's awesome. But the problem is that, like, if you want to use it for serious hacking, like air quotes serious hacking,
you want to take it on a plane.
You got this weird Raspberry Pi thing hanging out the side of your laptop, essentially, right? Now, the advantage of that is you may have access to all of the GPIO pins on your Raspberry Pi, which are huge advantages to hacking into all kinds of things.
The other advantage is that you have access to a whole bunch of Raspberry Pis.
Yes,
because I will have a Raspberry Pi that I use just for dumping SPI flash. It's got all the utilities right on it. It's got the thing all cabled up. I don't ever have to touch it again. I want to dump SPI flash. I put it in the little adapter and I plug it in the Crow View Note and I go, done.
Nice.
And then I put that Raspberry Pi away, and like, I don't need 6 laptops anymore. I just need one laptop that I can swap out Raspberry Pi stuff in and out.
But I think the thing that we all, when we got those and saw those, and I think a lot of us bought them, right? I was like, I just want a laptop with all the stuff inside of it. I don't want stuff hanging out the side. It'd be really awesome. In fact, Jonathan Barnett from Hackaday and Floss Weekly and Untitled Linux Show, great podcast host, by the way. I listened to a number of his podcasts. Untitled Linux Show is really good, as well as the Hackaday Floss Weekly podcast. But I digress. He had the same kind of thoughts that I had. Like, he was in my head. He was like, the Crow View Note is friggin' awesome. He's like, it's super weird to have this thing hanging out the side. Wouldn't it be nice if they made a model that you could just put a compute module from Raspberry Pi, small little single board computer, like just right in the laptop. He's like, then it'd be awesome. You NVMe storage, which is super fast, in one laptop. And this company called, what is Argon One? Is that the company or the product?
It is not Argon One. The Argon One is the product.
Yeah. I don't know who the
company is.
Blah, blah, blah.
Argon 40
is the company.
Argon 40 is the company, because I looked it up, because the Argon One is not available via Kickstarter or whichever crowdfunding method it is. It's, email me when it's available to sign up for. So I went to the Argon 40's website, because I tried to find other places about it. Argon 40 was a website, and they make a bunch of other cases and stuff for Raspberry Pis.
Yeah. So anyway, Argon One is a laptop that you can plug in a Compute Module 5 and an NVMe. And then it's your laptop, and there's nothing hanging on the side. I'm like, but the huge benefit for me, and I don't pretend to know how they do this, because when I looked into my Hackberry Pi, is very similar. I've got a Compute Module 5, an NVMe, hopefully some external Wi-Fi stuff that, thanks to Larry, we're trying to find the 3D. Anyway, that's a project for another time. But my Hackberry Pi 5, same platform, very performant. Like, you can run Kali Linux, to your point, Larry. You can run all kinds of hacking shit. And it's in this very portable, huge battery on the thing. It even has the magnetic charger. on the Hackberry Pi 5, which is a new feature that I didn't realize, new to me feature that I didn't realize adds. You can wirelessly charge the battery on my Hackberry Pi 5, has a Compute Module 5, NVMe storage, runs Kali Linux. But now Argon One makes the laptop version of that. So this is a Raspberry Pi laptop. I have to say, for the hacking community out there, to have a Compute Module 5 with an NVMe, it runs Kali Linux friggin' awesome.
Yep.
Like, it's extremely performant.
And arguably, if it's running Kali, and you could run whatever
You can run whatever Raspberry Pi OS you want.
Whatever Ubuntu you want to run.
You want to run Ubuntu, it's great.
Yep.
I
mean, so close. So they're derivatives, and like
it's so awesome. It's so awesome, and it's a pretty powerful laptop. Like, if you were to buy it, it's got some beef to it.
Yeah, and it's not even that the laptop has beef to it. It's because it's the Raspberry Pi.
The Compute Module 5 with NVMe storage.
That's the one.
Is
a
huge one.
The thing that I noticed about it, and is specifically in this particular review, is that they said the keyboard was workable.
Yeah, that's most of the,
and that's about what I feel about the Crowview Note, is that the keyboard is workable. And when I looked at the images of this thing, it looks exactly like the Crowview Note, except with a little bit of differences on the ports. And I mean, that's the Crowview Note case right there.
It's pretty slick. It's a slick looking laptop. To be honest with you, that's pretty nice.
That trackpad and the keyboard, I'd be hard pressed to tell the difference by looking at that image right now from the Crowview Note.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if after the Crowview Note came out, the Argon 40 folks are like, "Hey, I bet we could put a."
I don't know, but I don't know how they're doing the GPIO magic on this, because when I looked at my Hackberry Pi 5, what I got for answers was, I'm like, how do I enable GPIO? And they're like, most of the GPIO is being used by the platform itself to enable the screen and the keyboard and the mouse and the whole thing. But this Argon One has an external GPIO.
It has dual USB-C ports.
Yes,
that you can take an add-on to plug into those that basically does the GPIO breakout.
Like, that seals the deal for me. Like, I want one of these because I can have a Raspberry Pi functioning laptop running Kali, but now with this adapter, I can have all the GPIO functionality.
Yep.
Oh,
so awesome. I would venture to guess is that the reason why
it has flashing lights on it too, which is pretty helpful.
The reason why that yours is different, or what's the Hackberry Pi is different, is that they're using different technology to connect the screen and the keyboard. They're probably using the more traditional method you would on a full-size Raspberry Pi to connect HDMI and USB for keyboard, mouse, and video, leaving all of the GPIO available for other stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Which is as opposed to like, I don't know, I2C keyboard or SPI, or something else for a screen or something of the like. So
it's exciting. The other exciting thing is the Hack RF Pro.
Yep.
You have one of these on pre-order.
Yep. But I had seen the story, and I had seen that it was coming and all that type of stuff. But what I didn't, and I'd even seen that article that you sent into our internal Slack stuff, but for some reason I didn't realize that it was available for pre-order.
Yeah.
And you said it was available for pre-order. I'm like, what? I pre-ordered it.
Hacker Warehouse.
Right then.
Garrett. He didn't sponsor the show, but I ordered a tie guard in amazing shopping experience at Hacker Warehouse.
Yep. Like, I pre-ordered it right from Hacker Warehouse. It's, I mean, admittedly, has already billed my credit card. That's fine. And the receipt is in my non-reimbursable work expenses type deal.
Yep.
So it's ready to go. And then I watched the video.
What's the big difference between the Hack RF 1 and the Hack RF Pro? So I call it the Hack RF 1 Pro. It's not. It's the Hack RF 1
is the model that is currently available. The
next
Pro is the new one.
Pro. And other than the USB-C port, rather
USB-C.
than micro USB, up to 6 gigahertz. Is that a big jump?
It is a little bit bigger. I don't remember. I think,
what does the Hack RF 1 go up to? Is it 3 or 4?
It's, we have the internet here.
We have the internet. The whole internet right here in the studio.
Let's see. Hack RF 1. 1 megahertz to 6 gigahertz.
So what's the?
But
it's hard to know which one.
But 20 megahertz wide. I don't remember whether the new one here is using. I think some of the big ones.
100 kilohertz to 6 gigahertz is the new one.
Yeah.
But it does say the newer one has a wider operating frequency range.
Right.
So is that on the lower end or the higher end?
Yes. So it's tunable from 0 hertz to 7.1 gigahertz.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So
it's tunable, and
right.
What operating maybe transmit is a little different here. It is also backwards compatible with the Hacker F1. So any of the stuff that you're using with your Hacker F1 is going to be backwards compatible.
Michael Osmond seemed to say that in his video, which I did, which he's an amazing person, by the way. Yeah, awesome hacking device, obviously. But he did say that they were trying to make it like as backwards compatible as possible. And he's like, excuse me, form factor wise, he's like, it's very much the same.
Yep. Scroll down a little bit in that one.
He's like, however, he's like the USB-C port. So I can put this on the screen. He's like, but the USB-C port is going to be a little wider than your micro USB. He's like, so if you're 3D printing cases,
you might need to
get you got to just make that port a little bigger. And also there was improvements to the crystal. And the
just scroll up a little bit.
Sorry.
Yep. The TXCO crystal oscillator.
What is that? So what is a TXCO crystal?
So it's
oscillator?
Effectively being able to do your timing for your pulses for radio and so forth.
Is that for transmitting, receiver, both?
Yes.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. Better, more power efficient FPGA. The one that is actually kind of crazy is and good for this is the elimination of the DC spike.
So like a current spike?
So with software-defined radio, when you enable hardware, you software-defined radio, effectively what ends up happening, and he even showed this in the video, right at wherever you're tuned is going to be a spike, which can drown out the signals that you're dealing with in hardware.
When you're receiving?
Yes, when you're receiving. Yeah. So effectively what you need to do is you need to set your radio to a specific frequency. It's going to have right at that frequency your DC spike. But what you really want to do is use software to tune a little bit away from the hardware setting, so you don't have that interference of the DC spike.
And that's just like a power fluctuation issue.
Yeah, it's just software-defined radio thing. Okay. I don't even know how to explain.
What would Tesla say?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So effectively what they've done is they've removed the ability they've removed the DC spike in hardware because you can remove it in software. Basically you're creating a filter to get rid of that filter.
Oh yeah.
But what you're also doing is you're removing all the other good signals there
that might be in that spike.
Right. So instead of having to do it in software, you're now doing it in hardware to make it.
It seems to me this speaks to like this device is more accurate.
Yes.
Than the previous one.
Yeah, and
pretty cool.
And he even showed too that with the Hacker F1, like you tune into an FM radio station, but you'd also scroll down the band and you'd see the harmonic. That there would be the subcarrier, not the subcarrier, sort of the offset signals of that at a lower portion of the range, not quite as intense of a signal, but you could still interpret it, maybe not as well. But the point is that now maybe that other signal that is there, the harmonic, is over top of something that you really want to receive. So now you're jockeying with hardware and software, figuring out to try to get around some of that stuff, and maybe it's just not working. And one of the other ones is that he's eliminated a lot of that that issue with that quote multiplication of the signals. So it's much cleaner from a receive perspective.
Gotcha. That's pretty awesome. If you're doing any kind of RF stuff, you probably want to pre-order one of these devices, Larry. That's pretty. Kind of what I'm hearing. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, and that said, I have 7 or 8 Hacker F1s already. And because I love them. The one stays in my backpack for whenever I travel. I've always got one. I've got an RTL SDR as well. I actually just picked up another Hacker F1 because I'm building a CyberDeck, and with the point of having the Hacker F1 permanently built into the CyberDeck.
I have a Hacker F1 Portapack.
Yep.
And so I'm kind of waiting until I can get the Pro in a Portapack.
So
if I'm going to put the investment in, I'm going to put it in the PortaPack.
I would venture to guess that the PortaPack, because the Hacker F Pro has that same expansion port and is likely going to be backwards compatible with the PortaPack. So
That's a great point.
you will likely be able to use the PortaPack with the Pro.
Could I take the? Now you get me thinking. Can I buy a Hacker F Pro and then swap it into my PortaPack and then just like Dremel out
Most likely
the USB port so it fits?
I would venture to guess that yes, that will be the case. You may end up needing a software update to the PortaPack add-on at some point to support some of the new frequency ranges.
I heard mine from AliExpress at a significant discount, which you can't get in AliExpress anymore.
But sucks.
I keep hearing porta potty, but that's just
no, it's not a porta potty, it's a PortaPack.
But that's what I keep hearing every time you say it.
Is it just like a battery? It's like a battery with a screen and a jog wheel thing.
Well, so in
buttons, it has 4 buttons.
In the Wi-Fi class for SANS, it's the Wi-Fi class 617, the wireless class for SANS. We talk about the PortaPack, and we talk about a generic software-defined radio diagram. And as part of that, you're connecting your software-defined radio to some generic PC hardware with a Raspberry Pi, desktop computer, or whatever. The PortaPack is that generic PC hardware. It allows you to have control of the radio, to tell where it's going to tune to, bandwidth, and effectively doing some of your post-processing. You're putting the computer in the software-defined radio, as opposed to taking the software-defined radio and connecting it to a computer. That's really what the PortaPack is.
All right. I think that was all I had on hardware.
Can we
I did want to talk. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I think Larry had a story about the SharePoint saga. I had seen an article today, and I tried to do the research, and I didn't get any decent results, so I didn't add the article. But the article implied that vulnerability scanners were not accurately reporting the problems to organizations so they could address it. And all I could find was, reference to Microsoft put out a fix, and it wasn't a complete fix type of thing. And maybe that fed into the scan.
But I subscribe to HD's theory on VM, and I don't want to knock the VM vendors, but I think it's just a natural progression where traditional vulnerability management has kind of like subsided. There's not a lot of new stuff going on. Most of the, I think HG talked about this, right? Most of the VM vendors have kind of pivoted into providing other security solutions, if you will. I use that air quotes, solutions, air quotes.
Well, because there are no solutions.
Correct. But other capabilities, Jeff. And those capabilities are things like patch management, things like malware detection, things like cloud and container security and monitoring. And they've kind of lost sight of the traditional vulnerability management where you need to go find this vulnerability in a whole bunch of different targets and find it reliably. That they've kind of lost sight of that. And I've seen that personally on like the firmware based stuff, that they won't release detections for things in security appliances and kind of firmware and embedded stuff as much as they maybe used to, or maybe they didn't in the first place. But like I'm seeing things where I find other vendors have better coverage for these kind of esoteric things that end up on the SysACAV, but VM doesn't support that because they're on a different mission. And I don't say it's like a right or wrong thing. Like they've got a different focus because they focused on that same problem for so long.
Well, I will go out on a limb and say it is a right and wrong thing, because I think companies that deal with vulnerabilities, the big three players, we know who they are. I don't need.
What did we? Someone had an acronym for that. So it's Qualys, Rapid7,
and
Tenable. Qualys, Rapid7, QRT. I think HD was calling it QRT.
QRT.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think the premise is not necessarily, just because it's common and well accepted doesn't mean it was ever right in the first place in the approach to quote
Yeah.
unquote vulnerability management. But I mean, Larry's article talked about, sort of practical, how do you deal with it type of things. I don't know if you had any comments on that, Larry.
I don't, and the big reason I put this one in is for me to get a little bit of insight was because this happened last week when I was on vacation, and I can tell you exactly how many times I opened my laptop while I was on vacation, work or otherwise, and that was 3. Because that was because I had to book flights to Australia
for 2 days
the
after you get back from
one day. I am back.
day.
So yeah, I have a whole day at home before I leave for Australia after DEF CON.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I come
dude,
home.
You're gonna be.
I come home
smoked.
from DEF CON on Monday. I'm home Tuesday, and I leave Wednesday for Australia. The worst part of, I mean, it's cool, but the worst part of that whole thing is that
It's cool. Hold on. I'm curious. How do you get to Australia?
how do you get to a plane?
I know, but like,
For me,
logistics wise, for you, like,
so for
break
me,
it down. Quick.
I'm
Just curious.
flying Delta, Boston to LAX to Sydney to Melbourne.
Wow.
Okay.
And the way home, Melbourne, Sydney, LAX, Boston.
Okay.
So, and the crazy part is that I had to wait a little bit to get confirmation to.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Hop
it's-
in
So
Australia.
are you going to
yes.
land before you left?
Yes, pretty much.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Right.
Pretty
right.
much.
Yeah.
No, that's the other way. That's on the way home.
Mm-hmm.
Either way,
Yeah.
class starts on Monday, but so normally I would try to get there for Sunday, the
Yep.
day before class. In order to do that, because of the international dateline, I would have to leave Friday.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Friday for me to leave, and this is why I had to open my computer 3 times, is the flight was $21,000.
Holy crap! Wow.
But
and that's not even first class or.
oh no,
business?
that's first class. That's,
Oh, okay.
that's lay flat seating for the 27 hours and all that type of stuff.
Well,
and
I mean,
needless
if
to-
you're
and-
flying 27 hours,
And needless to
sure.
say, that blew the budget, and was well
Sure.
above the allocation and so forth. But if I left Wednesday to arrive Friday,
Mm-hmm.
it's $12,000, which was in budget.
Mm. So you're going out early.
So I'm going early. If I left Thursday, it was $17,000, which was not in budget. By moving that up 2 days, dropped the price by $9,000.
So wait, what are you going to do? You're going.
So I leave
LAX to where?
Boston to LAX to Sydney to Melbourne.
So Melbourne.
Yeah.
So what is there to do in Melbourne?
SANS conference. I mean, there's
But you're there. When do
Melbourne-
you get there? Saturday, Friday,
Friday morning.
and you don't start till Monday.
Don't start till Monday.
So
Yeah,
you have a weekend in Australia.
a weekend in Melbourne.
Careful with stingrays because that's what got Steve Irwin. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
You know,
But no, there's a bunch of amazing things to do in Melbourne.
That's good.
And in fact, if all goes well, I'm going to meet Hacks for Pancakes for lunch.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that'd be
yeah,
amazing.
no, yeah. That's all.
Give
That's amazing. Yes.
her our
Good
love.
for her. Yeah,
Absolutely.
please do.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Oh,
Which I guess
So
means
where were-
she's
yeah,
not
where were-
coming to Vegas. Not
No,
to digress.
I would assume not.
so it's interesting. I know Jeff hates it when I talk about UEFI, but
And-
I'm
Damn, I was trying to get through the whole episode.
I know.
And,
You're not
and
gonna
I,
get
I do have another. I do
We're
have another
so
story of
close.
Sam's that
No,
I
we
want to
can,
hear
we
about
can
too.
spend it. We get a few more minutes. We're not overtime. We get a few minutes.
We're not
So,
over time, but we were so close to not getting.
Talking
not
about
having
UEFI.
UEFI, and I almost wasn't going to talk about it. I want to talk about a different take because I'm actually going to
PCI, Jeff. PCI.
someone who I very much respect. All the people that work for AMI. We've had folks from AMI on the show in the past. Stefano has been on the show before, but I've got a chance to work with the AMI team, and we've talked about these issues with UEFI and BMCs, and the AMI team is amazing. And so my Below the Surface podcast, we're going to have Brian on from AMI on an upcoming episode, and we're talking about just this. So like this week, we get new Lenovo UEFI firmware updates to fix secure boot and SMM bypasses, all very classic vulnerabilities that allow attackers to embed themselves in UEFI, exploit vulnerabilities to gain very high level privileges, as I've talked about in the past. But what's striking to me is the ecosystem and the process and the supply chain behind it all, right? because you can trace it back to if there are security vulnerabilities in the reference implementation, which we call UEFI, there's a ton of code reuse. Like if you looked at all the UEFI software that existed today, like a large percentage of it is just reused across multiple vendors, OEMs, Dell, Lenovo, HP, the whole gamut. Then you've got the UEFI providers, AMI, Inside, Phoenix, the splash screens that you see. I joke with AMI, and they actually think it's funny because I wasn't sure how they're going to take it. But I was like, you guys had the best marketing campaign ever, because when someone walks into like a retail establishment and there's a PC that has a hiccup, they see American Megatrends, AMI BIOS, like on the screen in the store. But they're kind of like, we wish that people would update to our latest software that had the latest updates, that had the latest security controls on it, that didn't lead to those errors happening in the first place, right? Like that's kind of they're a good company.
But I think more interesting than talking UFeed to round out the show, we should talk about Sam's story about the
Aeroflot.
Hold on, Jeff. I'm not done yet. I still have about 5 more bullet points. So,
Damn it.
The AMIs of the world make those more specific improvements and features available. The OEMs take those, they make more modifications, but people still mess up the process. They use test keys. We saw weird vulnerabilities such as logo fail. OEMs may not take all the upstream fixes. In other words, AMI, Phoenix, Insides of the world say, hey, we fix this vulnerability. Dell, Lenovo, and I'm not picking on any vendors in this whole thing, but the Dell, Lenovo, HP, Asus, whatever, Gigabyte take those fixes or not, right? And so they're not taking all the upstream fixes. I liken this to, for a while, Google was not taking all upstream Linux kernel security fixes until they said, oh, the people that really know the Linux kernel are making these security updates, and we should just take those from the Linux team. You should do the same thing with UEFI. If you've taken UEFI from AMI, Inside, or Phoenix, you should take all those security updates. But it's more complicated than that, because those OEMs could introduce their own features that promote and support different features in their hardware platforms. And now they have to take a security fix. Now they have to backport that security fix. They have to figure out, like, this stuff is complicated inside of UEFI and firmware. So applying that fix is a lot of work.
This is the classic software supply chain
right? Like, it's a lot of work for it. I don't want to pick on anyone, but I want to use real names. Like, AMI makes a BIOS. Dell adopts that for their platform. Dell makes modifications. AMI goes, hey, there's a security fix. And Dell's like, I don't know. We made like 3 different variants of that had different platforms, and now we have to regression test all of that code. We have to implement your fix, but there's not just one fix, there's multiple fixes. So we have to test those multiple fixes. Like, do we take all those fixes? Do we take some of those fixes? I'm not faulting anyone.
Oh yeah, and
like, it's hard.
It's hard. And guess what? Do it. Figure it out, because you in this day and age, you need to be doing that shit.
I agree. But also the OEMs, like in gaming and consumer markets, so now you're talking about your Gigabyte, your Asus, your ASRock, they're trying to support the most recent thing for gamers and consumers that are updating more frequently. So their R&D efforts in engineering is going towards, oh, there's a new AMD processor coming out. I need to make a new motherboard for that processor. I need to get a new UEFI firmware. I need to adopt that to this platform. I need to put it out to market, because people are going to want this. Because people are going to upgrade to this. They're going to ditch their old board. They're going to go to the new board. They get a new graphics card. Then we need to have that available for them, so they buy from us and not one of our competitors. So they're focused on that rapid iteration of putting out products faster, which means their older products may not get the love that they need in backporting and doing all that work. So what all of this creates for me is a rich landscape of UEFI exploitation for attackers, right? So I think attackers are going to start creating really amazing malware that takes advantage of these UEFI vulnerabilities that we're seeing more and more over time. And because there's a new SMM call out vulnerability every other month, I think we're going to get better at finding vulnerabilities, and attackers are going to come along and getting better at weaponizing them.
So what I'm hearing is that the developers in this space don't do any better than anybody else.
Well, yeah, because
Yep.
I mean, to their credit, Jeff, this is not easy waters to navigate. There's a lot of dependencies at a very low level hardware level, right? Like, because your UEFI is initializing hardware before your operating system. So this is very low level stuff. But my point is, attackers are going to get better at exploiting this landscape. That's my prediction. That's why I work where I do, because I really think this is going to be a thing. And then every month we've got a new round of UEFI vulnerabilities, and it just creates more of a playground, more of an attack surface for people to go after.
Yep.
That's the theme of the show, which should really be like attack surface.
Speaking of attack surface and things for stuff to go after, I want to hear about Aeroflot.
Yes, please.
About who now?
This is pretty simple. The Ukrainians decided to hack Aeroflot, and they destroyed it utterly because they're using Windows XP and Server 2003, and they're not.
But even at that, it took them a year. But weren't they in this network for like a year? That's what I read.
Oh, I didn't see that. But what these guys said is they got in and destroyed 7,000 servers and workstations, and Aeroflot's had to shut down everything, more than 100 flights in the last couple of days.
So, Sam, here's the quote that I have that I thought was so. My take on this was cyber war is real. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek comment, but it said Silent Crow and the other group named Belarusian Cyber Partisans said the attack was the result of a year-long operation that had deeply penetrated Aeroflot's network, destroyed 7,000 servers, and gain control over personal computers of employees, including senior managers. So it kind of begs the question, was this activists or like an actual plot or nation state attack from Ukraine against Russia?
Why are you hung up
like just some kind of
what?
Well, this one says the attack began on July 27 and was 1 day long. So maybe there was some preparation before it. But
a year-long preparation, right? Like you got to implant yourself in the organization.
Yeah, I'm curious, Paul, as to why you're focused on the year-long thing.
Because they were just dwelling inside the network, right? Like
because if it's Windows XP in 2003, why did it take them a year to hack it? This should be like over with.
Exactly my question that Larry. I have the same question that Larry.
So maybe if they'd have done it in a week or a month after they discovered, they wouldn't have knocked over 7,000 servers. Maybe they'd only have gotten a few hundred.
I think, Jeff, I love how you probe my brain on this one, because I think that if the reason I'm harping on how long what the dwell time was speaks to how sophisticated the operation was and could speak to the motivation. In other words, if you're a nation state attacker, you've got the time and patience to like lurk in there for a year to be in order to take out a strategic target.
Well, and they also know they've got one shot at it. Because
and they want to destroy everything.
Once they do something, they're gonna close the hole, and they got a one-time shot. So why not maximize the
because when I kind of look at it like this: when they first got in and looked around, they were like, "Wow, I could probably shut this thing down for 24, 48 hours and have some impact." But they're like, wait, if I lurk around here and explore for a year,
just sit by and wait. And
now I guess the dwell time is a direct correlation to the impact. So the longer the dwell time, perhaps the greater
the more information they gathered, the more they were able to
the more servers they can discover.
Because we're actually talking about a real war. And this is a real thing. They're trying to maximize the damage that they inflict. They're trying to maximize the impact. So why not take their time and try to figure out what's the biggest bang for the buck, because we got one shot at this.
Admittedly,
so that tells me, Jeff, after all that probing, that tells me it was not just activists going, oh, I'm just going to hack this target on behalf of Ukraine. Like, I'm not affiliated with Ukraine, but I'm just an activist. I feel that what's happening in the world is wrong. So therefore, I'm going to attack Russia in support of Ukraine. That may have been I got in, I dwelled for a week, I took down a couple of things, I caused a 24 or 48 hour outage, and I'm done. The fact that they dwelled for a year, took out 7,000 servers, and created a much larger impact was Ukraine. They went to Ukraine first, or whatever, however it played out. It was like, hey, so we're in this Russian
the other way around. The where was it? What's the group there? Silent Crow was in, and then all of a sudden they noticed that the Belarusians cyber partisans show up.
Yeah,
like, hey guys, shh, let's work together.
Let's work together. Like, hold on, let's collaborate. Let's
collaborate.
Let's communicate and collaborate with Ukraine. And
Stop.
Like, what do you want us to do? And Ukraine was like, look, lurk. Like, take as long as you need. Get everything you need, and let's do this the right way. You got two groups in here, collaborate. In a year from now we can maximize that impact.
I believe it was stop, collaborate, and listen.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%.
Well, and one of my many pet peeves is the way we bandy about the term offensive security versus defensive security. This is actually offensive security. I
100%.
I kind of think that term should be reserved for nation state and warfare, because this is real offensive security.
Destroying 7,000 servers is
pretty offensive.
We can't not talk about that on the show, right? Like, destroying 7,000 servers, that's impactful.
It's impactful, and it's not what companies that do pen testing and red teaming do. That's not offensive security. They're emulating what people could do. It's still defense. This is bona fide real.
Yeah, 100%.
This is offensive security.
I
think we throw around that term too loosely. Is all I'm saying.
No, I agree.
Now, Sam, dive in a little bit and tell us, XP 2003. What does that speak to about the security posture? Because you noted some other things that had happened there about what it looked like for their security posture, arguably making some of this stuff happen.
Yeah, the XP in 2003 are terribly insecure. There's all kinds of attacks that work on them, like
they're
MSO
terribly
867.
old and unsupported.
Yeah. So this is why people are supposed to get off Windows 10, because it's reaching end of life, and these things reached end of life 15 years ago. So it's
and what was
we're only a few months away from Windows 10 being end of life. In fact, my laptop, I spun it up today, and I'm like,
I'm sorry, is it end of life or end of support? Because there's a difference.
It's Jeff. You bring up a great. You know what's interesting?
Support that's coming in.
So many vendors, and this is one of my pet peeves, have their own terminology, but also define like what that terminology means in the vein of end of life, end of support. I've heard it like end of updates. I've heard a lot of terminology about what it means to end of something. Like, what does that mean? Like, does end of support mean no one can create support tickets for it? But if there's a critical enough security patch, we'll still apply it to you. But does like end of updates means that's it? Like we're totally done? And I've heard, I can't think of the top of my head, but I've heard tons of different language and different terminology about what that means. But it also applies to the hardware and the software. When I was looking at, I'm not pointing fingers, just an example, Palo Alto, right? I had to navigate like Palo Alto in terms of, okay, this hardware is not supported anymore. In terms of it will only support this operating system,
right?
But what is the end of support or end of life of that operating system? And those are two different. Like, I can have this hardware, the hardware is still supported, but how long is the software still supported on that particular hardware? So do I have to buy a new firewall, or like how long can I upgrade before I have to buy a new firewall? And then that enables me to maybe get a new operating system that has a longer life cycle in terms of end of support. So like the language that they use and the terminology and the parameters they define are very confusing.
bring this
that
back.
one, yeah.
Bring this back to Sam's Aeroflot story a little bit here. If you think about XP in 2003, they're using this to run their airline. Out of support, out of end of life, whatever,
Yeah,
whichever language you want to do.
It's terrible. We have to talk about them.
It is very unlikely that they could have gotten Windows 10, any of the new
because the
operating
hardware, right? The hardware doesn't support the new software.
It's not even about the hardware. It's about that there are probably very strict export restrictions now into what Microsoft could sell into Russia and what Russia could buy.
100%.
So, but that still doesn't excuse the fact that they apparently had a whole bunch of other really poor security practices. Sam, I think you made the note that the CEO hadn't changed his password in 3 years.
Right.
Well, yeah, which, by the way, regular password changes are no longer recommended.
Unless you're using something like Windows XP or 2003.
Well, I don't think
that might argue
changing
that.
the password would really help.
We trade password.
NIST has abandoned the 90-day password.
But I think we traded that for just make it really super hard for the user to log in. Like, you don't have to change your password, but it's going to be super hard for you to log in. Like when
you don't have to change your password, but you're also adding a whole bunch of other technologies around that.
I'm complaining about it from a usability perspective,
right?
But there is a security trade-off for that.
Go ahead, Sam.
Well, what they've got a screenshot of an XP desktop with a notepad file on the desktop named password. So apparently that's how they got in. It looks like these guys had security policies,
but almost like good for them.
2003.
But that said, they are still stuck in the past with XP in 2003. So I would argue that those rules about changing your passwords every 90 days would still apply, because in the modern age, with modern operating systems and other technologies that they do not have access to.
Dude, use G Suite and try and log in from a new computer or a new IP address. Like, holy shit. The questions that Google asked you is like, oh, you need to give me your password. No, you know what? You need to give me your password again. It's I have to complain to my IT department because I'm like, why do I have to enter my password twice? Like, it logs me out. I enter my password and it's like, no, you know what? You're still logged out. You need to give me your password again. And then it's like, oh, no, you know what? You need to give me your multi-factor. Like, which multi-factor do you want to? Because I still don't believe you, which is good, but also slightly inconvenient to the users. But to your point, Larry, if you're using older technology, that stuff isn't available to you. It doesn't exist.
Speaking of logging out and inconvenient, we need to start wrapping up for time.
Before we wrap up, if I may,
Jeff,
you take it up with Tyson.
Well,
no, but
Tyson,
this was a weird episode.
We'll get right there.
But
Tyson's telling us, hey guys,
a lot of the end of life, end of support, I think humbly, has to do with PCI, because I can remember back, it was back in the aughts.
Oh, Jeff, we almost made it the whole episode without talking about PCI
or
UEFI
a couple times. But the whole end of life, end of support thing had to do with, and I know Paul's a little bit familiar with this. A lot of cash registers, what we call point of sale systems, were running on Microsoft. What was it back then? XP?
Oh, it was embedded. It was like an embedded Windows.
And it was going. And it was. I had clients that were freaking out because they were getting the end of support notifications, and they actually had to pay for extended support contracts from Microsoft. And for a season, Microsoft, they were making decent amount of money to get that extended support. It was an issue when I worked at Tenable, because Tenable, if it was an end-of-life operating system, all that Nessus would do would say, hey, this is an end-of-life operating system out of support, therefore it's a high-risk finding. It wouldn't actually look for any vulnerabilities that might be resident. It would just kind of stop there and just move on. So I'm curious with the Windows 10 thing, whether end-of-life, we're coming to end of support, whether there's still support contracts that are going to happen.
Yeah, but Windows is somewhat. It's hard to, from what HD tells me, it's hard to determine which Windows version it is. I think that's a struggle I've seen him talk about and or blog about on Run Zero. Like it's hard to determine exactly which Windows version you're running.
Right.
But if you can do that, you can determine whether it's supported or not. The real global issue that we have is for all the other software and operating systems out there. How do we determine, one, what version you're running? Two, is that version end of life, end of support, in the whole rabbit hole? We go down all those classifications the vendors make.
Right.
Is it the real question is it getting security patches any longer?
Right.
And that's a difficult thing to determine. But that's the real question you want to answer as defenders. I'm
that's
defending
what I'm getting
the environment. I don't care if there's one vulnerability or 1,000. Like the first question is, what is it running? The second question is that supported by the vendor? And can I even get security patches for it? Because if the answer to the first question is yes, the version is XYZ, answer that definitively. The second question is that supported? That's the most important question, because if that answer is no, that's a huge finding that I need to know about.
Well, in theory, the extended support contracts that a lot of my clients opted for was that they would get the additional patches if there was a vulnerability discovered. But
how do you find that? Like, how is that a finding, right?
But my problem with Nessus wasn't even looking for it. And the bigger problem is so many companies, and this is what I'm getting to with like the whole concept of vulnerability management, I think is flawed from the get-go, is so many organizations, their idea of vulnerability management is to run a scan, and if the scan finds something, then they jump. Not they're keeping up with notifications and chat
totally
out
agree,
there
Jeff.
on the different things. They're waiting for the and this goes
to
kind
find
of back
something,
to the SharePoint thing. I wonder if the issue, because I said that I wish I would have kept the article that was implying that the vulnerability scans were not finding the problem so that organizations could fix it. There's a lot of reliance on, the tool says, the scan engine, that whatever one we're using is saying that we don't have a problem, therefore we don't have a problem, which doesn't necessarily mean you don't have a problem.
Right.
All right, guys, we got to wrap it up.
Wrapping up,
wrap it up.
Hijacking Discord invites. Make sure you go read my story number 14.
Yeah.
Super interesting how attackers are abusing Discord invites. The advice was actually interesting, is to create a persistent, no expiration date Discord invite to thwart those attacks. But also, if you're a Discord admin, you can go look at all the invites that you ever created, and you can go invalidate those. And so you might need to do that based on this attack. All the details are in my story number 14. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching this edition of Paul Security Weekly. Larry, take us out.
Over and